My fiancé wants to become a tradwife once we get married, and now I'm tempted to call off the wedding. For some context, I am 29 and my fiancé, Kate, is 27. We have been together for 4 years now and engaged for 1. We're due to get married this coming July. I do love Kate and can't wait to spend the rest of my life with her, but lately she has been becoming serious about becoming a tradwife after getting married, and I'm having a hard time getting on board. A bit of background of our lifestyle: we live in a major city in a pretty high cost of living area. I earn an average salary working in accounts. She earns an okay salary as a full-time store manager for a popular clothing chain. Together we earn enough to pay rent for a small flat, pay the bills, and have a small amount left over for some small luxuries like takeout, going to the movies, etc. It takes forever for us to make substantial savings, most of which are going to this wedding, but we are doing okay. But that is with 2 incomes. While I do earn more than her, it's not megabucks more, and if we drop to just 1 income, presumably mine, we would just be surviving. True, her salary isn't anything glamorous, but it's enough to help pay the bills and add to the savings pot in the area we live. It'll tough if we lose her income. Now for the issue. Shortly after the new year, Kate and I were just chilling out on the couch after a work day when Kate brought up post-wedding life and mentioned the idea of becoming a tradwife after marriage. I had never heard of this before and asked her what that was. She explained that it meant traditional wife, and it was a wife that stayed home, looked after the household chores including cleaning and cooking, and more importantly looked after the husband by attending to his needs. I said that sounded like a housewife, and she said it was more than just a normal housewife because a tradwife does everything herself to look after the home and husband without any paid work. This still sounds like a housewife to me, but whatever. I was thrown off guard by this, as Kate has never shown any desire of just staying at home before. The only time it was discussed was in relation to kids, which she said she was happy being a stay-at-home mom for when our kids were young, because on her salary, we'd probably be paying more for childcare anyway. More to the point, the idea of her just staying home all day, cleaning and cooking is a bit strange to me when we live in such a small place. Between the 2 of us, we can clean the whole flat in half a day. It takes me about half an hour to vacuum and mop all floors. For example, when I self-processed that, I thought she was joking, but she was dead serious. I was then very surprised and asked her what made her suddenly desire to just stay at home and not work. To my shock, she said TikTok of all things. Apparently, there is videos and TikTokers that are these tradwives that talk about how great the lifestyle is and how happy their marriages are. These tradwives claim their husbands are always happy and home life is the best. So Kate wants that for us too. I told her that it wouldn't make me happy. It makes no sense. We live in a small flat that requires little upkeep. We have no kids for her to stay at home with, and most importantly, we can't afford it again. I understand her income isn't great, but it isn't pitiful, and it does help maintain our current lifestyle, which isn't that glamorous to begin with. She gave a non-committal shrug, and I thought that was the end of it. No. She approached me again a few days later with the idea. I told her that I was against it. I tried to pry more about why she suddenly wanted to be a tradwife, but she just kept banging on about TikTok and how she really does feel that her staying home would be the best thing for our marriage. I again reiterated the reasons why I thought it was a bad idea and do not support it. She keeps bringing it up now. It seems she's adamant. I can't get anything more out of her apart from the whole TikTok says it's good for our marriage. I watched some of those TikTok videos and I'm sorry, but they come across as really creepy. There is this one blonde lady who I swear is one microchip away from going full Stepford wife. I have no problems with housewives in terms of if you live in a huge house and you really can live on 1 income, but that is not the case for us. More to the point, a housewife seems to be doing something outside the home, doing volunteer work, being a part of a club or society, etc. to fill the time. These tradwives seem to do nothing but dress like Lucille Ball and cook bread from scratch. It's bizarre and not something I'm looking for in a long-term partner. Kate cannot seem to let this go, and she's become a bit obsessed. She's starting to learn new recipes for her new married life as a tradwife, but keeps complaining that she doesn't have time to feed us both properly as a new family because of her job. I told her to do these fancy things on the weekend, but she just shot back that she should have all the time. She keeps following these TikTokers and is starting to get new clothes more fitting for a tradwife lifestyle. I don't know how much more I can tell Kate how much I am against this, and it's falling on deaf ears as a result. I am seriously reconsidering our relationship. Kate has always worked, and while I don't expect her to be a ball-busting career woman, I don't want this as an alternative. I want an equal partner, and this tradwife thing doesn't seem equal. It seems creepy and finished in the 1950s for a reason. Should I call off the wedding? I am honestly at loss what to do. Kate seems committed to doing this tradwife thing, and I'm just not. My best mate tells me now that I've reached the point of not wanting to get married anymore, that I at least need to really sit down with Kate and tell her straight up where my head is at. But I've tried to talk to her before, and she doesn't budge. Any help would be appreciated. Update 1. Things have only gotten worse. I really tried to make Kate understand that this idea of becoming a tradwife doesn't make sense for us. But the more I try to reason with her, the deeper she sinks into this obsession. I don't even recognize the woman I'm about to marry anymore. She used to be independent, had her own opinions, and wanted to build a future with me. Now, she seems like a completely different person, totally absorbed in this fantasy she found on TikTok. The situation escalated when she started dressing differently. At first, it was small changes, longer skirts, more classic blouses. But now, she's buying outdated dresses, as if she's living in the 1950s. She started wearing an apron around the house, even when she wasn't cooking, as if she were rehearsing for a role she created in her head. The other day, I came home from work and she was wearing a full-skirted dress, a button-up shirt, and had her hair styled in a retro way, serving tea like some kind of 1950s housewife. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but she was dead serious and asked if I wanted something to eat. When I said I wasn't hungry, she looked offended, as if I had rejected a role she was trying to fulfill. She also started apologizing for everything, as if she had done something wrong just by existing. "I'm sorry if I did something wrong, love," she said one day when I asked what we were having for dinner, and she told me she didn't have time to cook because she was too busy watching recipe videos on TikTok. I told her it was no big deal, that we could just order something, but she started crying, saying she felt like she was failing as a wife. This is not normal. This is not the Kate I know. Her social media has completely changed as well. Before, she used to post normal things, pictures of our outings, food, fun moments together. Now, her posts are full of phrases like a woman should support her husband, submission is an act of love, and the happiest marriages are the ones where the wife knows her place. It gives me chills. She's also completely stopped caring about her own money. Before, we always split the bills, and she was very responsible with finances. Now, she doesn't even check her bank account anymore. If she needs something, she just assumes I will pay for it. The other day, she bought a bunch of kitchen tools and fabric to try sewing her own clothes, and only after the fact did she tell me, as if it was obvious that I should cover the cost. When I asked where the money was coming from, she just shrugged and said, "But you're the provider now, aren't you?" That caught me off guard. I was speechless. She actually believes this. She actually expects me to support her entirely. And worse, she's already acting as if I've agreed to it. There was no discussion, no compromise. She simply decided that this is our new future and is now living as if it's already set in stone. The other day, she brought up the idea of quitting her job before the wedding even happens. She said it would be a transition period so she could get used to her new routine. I lost it. I asked her how she thought we were going to afford this, since my salary alone isn't enough to sustain this lifestyle. And her response left me stunned. She said, with complete confidence, that a real man does whatever it takes to provide for his wife. I was so shocked, I couldn't even respond immediately. She truly believes I should take care of everything while she stays home, playing 1950s housewife. I tried to reason with her, to make her see reality. I asked how she would feel if, suddenly, I decided I didn't want to work anymore and expected her to support me. She laughed and said, "That doesn't make sense because the man is the head of the household." At that moment, I realized there was no turning back. That night, I could barely sleep. I lay there, looking at her beside me, sleeping peacefully, completely comfortable with this new mindset she found on TikTok, and I wondered how we even got to this point. How can someone change so much in such a short time? The next morning, before leaving for work, I made one last attempt. I asked her if she really wanted to throw away the life she had to live in this ridiculous fantasy. And do you know what she said? "You're just not used to it yet. But once you see how this makes our marriage stronger, you'll thank me." She has already decided for both of us, and that's what scares me the most. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm about to marry someone I don't even recognize. And the worst part? I feel like she already sees us as married, as if it's too late for me to walk away. But it's not too late. It can't be. Now I just need to find the courage to do what I already know needs to be done. Update 2. Things kept getting worse, but not in the way I expected. After our last argument about money, Kate started questioning my masculinity in subtle ways at first, but then it became unbearable. It started with seemingly harmless comments. A real man does whatever it takes to provide for his wife. Men used to work hard while their wives took care of the home without complaints. I think you've gotten too comfortable with this modern idea that men shouldn't be sole providers. At first, I ignored it. Then I started pushing back, but that only made things worse. She started acting like I was weak for not wanting to support her completely, as if wanting a partner and not a dependent was some sort of personal failure. One day, I was exhausted from work and just laid down on the couch. She looked at me with this almost condescending expression and said, "Wow, you're always so tired. You work all day, but you still can't provide for us on your own." That was the moment I snapped. I sat up and let everything out. I asked if she had any idea how ridiculous she sounded, if she truly believed that staying at home and pretending to be a 1950s housewife made her better than me. I asked her how she thought we would survive in an expensive city with just my salary. I told her it wasn't about masculinity, it was about reality, that she was deluding herself with a bunch of TikTok videos and convincing herself that this was the right way to live when, in fact, it was just a fantasy that didn't hold up in real life. She started crying. She cried a lot. She said she didn't mean to make me feel like less of a man, that she just wanted our marriage to be strong and happy, that maybe she had taken things too far, but she truly believed this was the best choice. She apologized, said she loved me, and would do whatever it took to make things right between us. And that was when something in me completely shifted. She was willing to do whatever I wanted, to obey me, to accept my word as final. That's when I realized she wanted to be submissive, so why not make it work in my favor? If she wanted to be a tradwife, then she would have to fulfill all my desires. The first thing I did was make her understand that if she wanted to provide her husband, then my wants came first. I started demanding that she do exactly what I wanted. If she wanted to cook dinner every night, then it had to be exactly how I liked it. If she wanted to dress like a 1950s wife, then she had to be well put together at all times, always looking good for me. If she wanted to treat me as the man of the house, then every decision had to go through me first. And the best part? She accepted it all without question. Suddenly, my life became much more comfortable. When I got home, dinner was ready. She no longer argued with me. If I said I wanted something, she did it. She started living just to please me. But there was one thing that still bothered me. She still wasn't working. And to me, that didn't make sense. Why should I be the only one carrying the financial burden of this house? If she wanted to be submissive, then she had to obey what I thought was right. And my woman was not going to sit around doing nothing all day. So, one night after dinner, I looked her in the eyes and said, "Tomorrow, you're going to look for a job." She blinked a few times, surprised. But I thought, I'm not going to pay for everything by myself. You want to be a good wife? Then you're going to obey me and start working. I don't want a woman who spends the entire day doing nothing but cooking and cleaning a small apartment. You're going to help pay the bills. She was silent for a few seconds. It was like her entire worldview was crumbling. But after a few moments of hesitation, she nodded. "Yes, love. If that's what you want, I'll do it." And that's when I realized that I finally had complete control over the situation. The next day, she went job hunting. She found a part-time job at a store, just enough to contribute to the bills while still maintaining the illusion of being a traditional wife. She did everything I wanted without question, and honestly, I started to like it. At first, it was a little unsettling. The way she completely erased herself, how she never questioned anything. But after a while, I realized how easy it was to have someone who did everything exactly how I wanted. If I wanted to go out with my friends, she didn't complain. If I wanted silence when I got home, she simply obeyed. If I said I wanted a specific meal, she made it. And now, she was also helping pay the bills. In the end, I was the one who won. And to think that at first I wanted to break up, now, I'm not so sure I want this to end. Final update. Over time, I got used to it. At first, there was still that strange feeling, that doubt about whether I really wanted to live this way, whether I was becoming someone I would have despised before. But that doubt slowly faded as I saw the benefits of it all. My home was always spotless. Dinner was always ready on time. Kate was always dressed nicely, made up, and prepared to serve me as if it were her sole mission in life. I no longer had to worry about petty arguments because she didn't question anything anymore. And the best part? She was working. If she wanted to be a traditional wife, she had to follow my rules. And my woman was not going to sit around all day pretending that cleaning a small apartment was a full-time job. So she worked and still came home ready to fulfill her role as the obedient wife. I noticed that little by little, she had become completely conditioned. At first, every now and then, I would catch a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. A brief moment where, maybe for a second, she considered speaking up, but then she would swallow hard and just accept it. And I like that. I like watching the transformation. I like how easy my life had become. I like knowing that she existed to please me. For a long time, I thought I had won. Until one day, she broke character. It happened after a minor argument, something trivial. I had come home late from work and noticed that she had been waiting for me, but hadn't eaten yet. When I asked why, she said she wanted to have dinner with me. I made a simple comment, something like, "You don't have to wait to eat, you just have to make sure my food is ready." And for the first time in months, her reaction was different. She huffed. I saw the exact moment when something inside her cracked. She set her silverware down on the table with a bit too much force and looked at me with an expression I hadn't seen in a long time. Irritation. "Don't you think you're taking this too far?" she asked, crossing her arms. I raised an eyebrow, surprised. Taking what too far? This. At first, I thought this lifestyle would be good for us, but it feels like you're just taking advantage of it. I do everything to please you, and it's never enough. I smiled. "And you just now realize that?" She frowned, confused. "What do you mean? You wanted to be a submissive wife. And now you are. But now you see that you don't like it as much as you thought. Do you? You thought you would be in control when, in reality, you put yourself in this position." She opened her mouth to argue, but then closed it again. I just didn't expect you to be so toxic. Toxic. That word made me laugh. Toxic? What's toxic about expecting you to do exactly what you said you wanted? I didn't come up with this 1950s housewife idea. You did. I just accepted the gift you placed in front of me. She stayed silent, conflicted. I continued. "You can try to complain, you can try to change the rules now, but I know you won't. You know why? Because now that you've turned yourself into this, you can't go back. You might try to fight it, but in the end, you'll end up obeying." She looked at me as if she wanted to argue, as if she wanted to prove me wrong, but she said nothing. The next day, she reset back to 1950s mode, as if that conversation had never happened. She went back to cooking without question, went back to accepting every order I gave without hesitation, went back to dressing up perfectly for me every day. And at that moment, I knew I had won completely. Kate wanted to be a submissive wife, and now she was forever.